Welcome, my friends, to another Ascendancy reveal. This is about districts. I'm super pumped. I hope you guys like it. Districts are the heart of the game because this is where you place all of your worker meeples. It's where all of the actions are, and each district has 6 action spaces that you can place your meeples to do things in the game. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Let's see if my pictures are working. Come on, pictures. There we go. All right. So each one of these districts loosely connects to one of the 4X gameplay loops. Those are Explore, Exploit, Expand, and Exterminate. The Frontier is the first of these 4 boards, and it's loosely themed around exploration. So the first action here is called Patron. And Patron is what lets you use a building action. Now there's 2 types of building actions in Ascendancy. The first is the core building. As you can see here, this is called the Innkeeper. That's the core building action for the Frontier. And additionally, we have these 2 expansion player building actions, the Stables and the Hunting Camp, which were built by the red and green player respectively in this example. So starting with the first building available through Patron, the Innkeeper, one option is you can rest if you visit the Innkeeper. That will restore 1 health with a short visit, or you can do a longer duration visit and restore 2 health, but your champion will not be able to act during that given game decade. Another thing you can do with the Innkeeper is spy. If you have another player at your table and you're playing with the hidden roles option, the Innkeeper will allow you to peek at their hidden role card. Now, you're allowed to hint at what you may or may not have seen when you peeked at that card, but of course you could be lying. There is a bit of social deduction available if you choose to play with that option in Ascendancy. Finally, at the Innkeeper, you can get your loot tokens identified. Now, they're not great at this. You can only identify 1 loot token at a time when you visit the Innkeeper, and they can be normal, magic, or rare versions of loot. These might look slightly nostalgic to some of you if you've played some other roguelike games on your computer years ago. So player buildings, if you don't want to visit the Innkeeper, the Hunting Camp will allow you to reveal a creature card, which gives you information about what your combat matchup will be during a later phase of the game. And that lets you plan in advance what types of your own combat units you might want to deploy against them. And then the Stables, if you are playing with Red House Khan in your game, you'll have the opportunity to visit the Stables, which allows you to gain a mount. Now, mounts are a lot of fun. They let you journey more efficiently. So with a brown tier 1 mount, you can journey for -1 food cost along the world map. Tier 2 silver, -2 food, and tier 3 gold will let you journey for -3 food, which means you can move 3 spaces without having to pay anything, which is very efficient, but it can take a lot of breeding to get to those gold tier mounts. So how do you perform all of these actions on a district? Well, your meeple workers let you do that. And each game you're going to start with 4 meeple workers, up to potentially 5, depending on how much you want to invest into ascending your workers during the course of the game. Now they're sorted by social class, so this is our unique twist on the worker placement, tried and true beloved game mechanic. So a higher tier meeple worker will be able to oust and replace a lower tier worker. So starting at the bottom, your outcasts are the least versatile and powerful, and by the time you work your way up to a laborer, loyalist, lord, lady, and ultimately royal advisor, they're going to be the most powerful, and they can bump anybody from any action slot. So as you can imagine, the turn order can be very important for getting access to the actions that you really want in the game. So how do you do that? That is determined by your loyalty score. So this is the tracker, And the rule is that the player with the lowest loyalty score gets to place their workers first. Now, it sounds a little counterintuitive, but this subtle catch-up mechanic lets you get really strategic about when to take the lead and when to hold back. So depending on how you play, you might be able to avoid taking the lead until near the end of the game, and that will give you an advantage when it comes to placing your worker meeples during these phases. So back to the frontier. The next action I'll talk about briefly are consumable items. There are these cards in the middle there. Those are one-time use, and then they are discarded. So a scroll of identification, that'll identify all of your loot tokens that you might have in your treasury. Or something like an acid flask is a combat consumable. It lets you ignore armor from one enemy when you play it. Now the next action is called Scout. Scout lets you draw a location tile like this. Location tiles have a skill check at the top, which lets you gain some bonus resources depending on how well you do. They also provide access to a foreign champion. If you're not playing blue, you might be able to anoint a whaler champion. And they also have an adjacency bonus or penalty depending on where you place the location tile on the map. Now, when you take the scout action, you can draw 2 location tiles, but you only get to pick one to place on the map. And when you place it on the map, you're going to have an opportunity to settle that location, which is one of the primary ways that you gain loyalty in the game of Ascendancy. And the settlements are these little stacker minis that you get to place. The base game is going to come with the small stackers that you can see there. The deluxe version is going to have oversized premium stacking capital settlements, which looks super cool. If it's in your budget, it's a really cool option to have. So that's the scout action. And then the last action I'll talk about is reveal. Reveal lets you draw a creature card, again, preemptively, to give you information about the type of creature that you'll be facing during your encounter. And that lets you plan accordingly in advance what type of champions or mercenaries to deploy against them to have the best chance at victory. Victory is never, it's always risky, of course. There's other ways you can do encounters. You can pacify, you can bribe, but if you want to go to combat, it's really great to have that advanced information. We could see he's a might type creature, so by deploying an intellect type champion or mercenary, it will give you the best chance, best odds at coming out victorious. So that's a ton of information, but if you're watching this in May of 2023, I'm happy to share that the factory is going to be making the prototype copies this week. So as soon as I have those in hand, I'm going to be able to ship those to the previewers. And then once the previewers have time to create their coverage of Ascendancy, we'll have almost everything in place to launch this Kickstarter. The main thing that if you're watching this and you want to help support indie game development and get Ascendancy to market faster, is we still need more people hyped for the game. So if you could share it on the socials, mention us on the Facebook groups like Board Game Revolution, go to BoardGameGeek. It's really hard to get noticed there with 1,000 games coming out every month, right? So the more people know about it, the more we can get on the list, and the better chance we have of this game getting funded and ultimately manufactured and produced and shipped to you. So thank you for watching. I hope you liked it. Any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.